Good evening, everybody. It is Sunday night, March 24th, 2024. We are less than 2 weeks away from WrestleMania. We are less than 72 hours away from the anniversary of WCW closing down. And we are also less than 72 hours away of dun, dun, ch, dun, dun, ch, it's your birthday. It's your birthday. It is my birthday this Wednesday. So hopefully we will have a fun show tonight. This is the Don, Tony, and Kevin Castle show. Special episode, Ask DTKC Anything. So if I am DT, that only means one person who is KC.
That would be me, KC. The original,
What's up, me?
The original KC. What's up, man?
How's it going, Kev?
KC. What's going on, Ed? Happy Sunday night, man. Very
yeah,
rare
same,
Sunday night for me.
Same to you. You know, we're coming off an interesting SmackDown. A lot of people that are very vocal seem to feel that Cody Rhodes may have taken a little bit of a step backwards. I think it's just a 1 week only thing, but, you know, people are starting to, I guess before we get into questions, Kev, do you think it's starting to get exposed a little bit? Maybe this is why The Rock was interjected for a little bit of reality that, you know, what story is Cody actually finishing other than being the first Rhodes to be a World Wrestling Federation / entertainment heavyweight champion of the world? Do you feel like the story is really being finished? Does the story ever finish?
I don't think the story is ever going to be finished. I still have a little perversion of him not winning the title and Roman retaining that night. I just would think that was hysterical. Just the insanity in the IWC would just be so worth it. I mean, it would be just amazing. So I'm clear. I don't think I lose either way because for me personally, I want Cody to win, but I'm a big Reigns fan. I don't care if he retains. I'm not one of those freak out people. So I don't lose either way. So to me, I'm cool about the situation. I think 90% Cody's going to win. It's a slight 10% chance some chicanery can happen and Roman retains. But I don't think that's going to be the case. But the story, is him winning the title for his father, the title his dad never got. But you know what's funny, DT? When Dusty came back in, 89, he was never even considered to have a run for the title then.
No.
You know, so I mean, that, you know, he was in semi-mains. He was fighting Macho Man. He was going up against Ted DiBiase. He was right under the main event. But there was never even consideration of him going after the title. And I think it was Savage who had the belt then, right, DT, when he first came here? Savage was it? Yeah, Savage, and then Savage turned on Hogan. But, yeah, so Dusty had an opportunity to come back and get it. They kind of overlooked that, though. Is it because they considered Dusty just an attraction then, DT, and he was past his prime?
He was heavier than usual, past his prime.
Yeah.
Plus, I think, you know, he wasn't committed for a very long. I mean, then again, at that time, very few people were committed to long-term contracts there. But, you know, Dusty wasn't making crazy amount of money. He wasn't inked for an extremely long contract. Hulkamania was still in full force, you know, to an extent. I mean, Macho Man was coming in, but, you know, the mindset.
Warrior,
yeah, Warrior. I mean, the mindset with Vince, with the larger-than-life freakazoids, you know, let's just be honest. I mean, in a lot of ways, Dusty was the most charismatic fat man of the WWF. Like, he was the common man, but if people remember the skits were all comedy. You know, it was all... You know, he was doing all the everyday handyman stuff, but it was all comedy to poke fun at his physique, to poke fun of his ass crack, of his belly and this and that. And, you know, later on as years went by, you know, you had the inspirational stories, you have your Eddie Guerreros, your Rey Mysterios, you know, anybody could win the World Wrestling Entertainment Heavyweight Championship. Dusty Rhodes was never in the cards, you know, and the enhanced YouTube version of Monday's episode that you and I did, the 18th of March, I actually spliced in Warner Wolf's Plays of the Year for 1984, I believe it was. And sure enough, what's the first clip we see? Dusty Rhodes, you know, with the bionic elbow and the punches. You look at Warner Wolf's Plays of the Year 1985, because you were right on Monday. He ended up leaving in 85 because of Crockett and everything that was transitioning there. But he was in the Garden in early 85, and sure enough, Dusty once again against Samoa number 3, Samula, Plays of the Year.
Yep. Bionic
elbow punches. So everybody loved Dusty, but Dusty was never in the cards of becoming heavyweight champion. So, I don't think, I wonder, Kev, Dusty Rhodes ever do a shoot interview?
Yes, he did, actually. I think he did 2 of them. I think he did one with RF Video, and it might have been High Spots, the other one. I'm not sure, but I believe there was 2.
Did he ever talk about if he was ever seriously considered to become heavyweight champion in 77?
I don't remember that. It's been a while since it's been so long. I got the Dusty Rhodes shoot interview on VHS. That's how long ago that shit was.
Yeah.
It was right when he was doing, remember when he opened his own Fed for a little while? What was it? Turnbuckle Wrestling?
Turnbuckle
something like
Championship Wrestling or something like that?
Was it? Yeah, did anybody in the chat remember the name of it? Dusty had a Fed for like a year and a half.
Yeah.
And he used Daphne a lot in that Fed, didn't he?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, Turnbuckle Championship Wrestling, I believe it was.
Yeah, that's when he did the shoot, I think, is when he was doing that.
Okay. All right. Yeah, so I guess, finishing the story is that a Rhodes is finally going to become World Wrestling Entertainment material as far as being heavyweight champion. But, I guess because there's so much time, I think people underestimate how much time there is between the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. I mean, you're talking over 2 months. And, Cody winning the Rumble, very predictable. And yes, things got thrown in a loop because of CM Punk's injury, but a lot of weeks to burn. And a lot of minds start getting changed along the way. And I kind of feel that, this TKO ownership version of WWE is based on a lot more reality. Like, they acknowledge that there is a core group of people out there that feel, like, what story is Cody actually finishing? Like, why is he crying? Why is he so emotional? But there is a large core audience that knows Cody has been technically their number 1 ambassador for the last couple of years. It's not a gimmick. It's not a gimmick. The only thing that I'm still amazed with is before he left AEW, I see this Cody, and I see AEW's Cody, and I see the commitment. I mean, yes, money talks, and his history is a big deal as well. But I never envisioned Cody to be this much of a centerpiece, in WWE, because in AEW it just felt like, he's doing stuff with Fire, he's doing stuff with Jade Cargill, he's doing stuff with Brandy, and Brandy's stuff was god awful, when she was with Awesome Kong, and you see him in WWE, and it's like, holy shit, this is like a tale of 2 different Codys.
Yeah, it is. I mean, the real story is Cody Rhodes wanting to get into wrestling, wanting to be a champion since he's a young kid. He goes to, the rival, or starts a rival federation, is basically the president of operations, leaves that, comes back home. The story is really Cody's journey for his own self. They peppered in the Dusty Rhodes story because it's obvious his dad never won the title, one of the biggest babyface stars of all time. But the story really is Cody leaving, coming back a bigger star, accomplishing a lot of things that a lot of wrestlers do not accomplish when they leave the big WWE and go on to do other things. They never get bigger when they leave the company and come back bigger. Cody is an exception to the rule. Now, people could say Drew McIntyre, but let's be honest, Cody's a bigger star. Cody is finishing his own story. The father thing is a sentimental, emotional side note to it. They're putting it at the forefront, but he's finishing the Cody Runnels story, the Cody Rhodes story. It's not the Dusty story.
I agree. Well, just to bring it back a little bit, we are here, special episode, Sunday night, March 24th, 2024. Ask DTKC anything. And we are doing this live. And, in order to obviously be part of this interactive episode. You have to be live. You have to be present in the chat room, and that is all free. You have a question you want us to get into. Doesn't have to be wrestling. Anything is on the table tonight. And as always with the other shows, super chats are not required, but they are welcomed. It helps us pay the bills. Once in a while, it buys us a cup of coffee, and they'll always get VIP treatment, priority status. And a couple came in before we went live, so it is only fair that we get into those first. And again, I want to thank everybody for joining us. People want to see more of these. Hey, if the turnout is good and everybody's enjoying themselves and, it's beneficial for everybody involved, we'll do this again very, very soon.
Yeah, and let's say what's up to everybody in the chat room who's tuning in live right now. As scrolling by, I'm seeing some familiar names and some names I'm not so familiar with because they've been on board with you doing your solo shows. But it's nice to see everybody in the chat, man. A nice, cool environment.
Yes, and for those that may not know, the ones in blue, Austin, Nance, and Guardian of Chaos are our moderators running the ship, making sure everything is smooth. And those in green are made men and women of the family. So I see Gruss is in the house, so shout out to Gruss. And I want to open up tonight's episode with a shout out from BTC 316, who sent Kevin and I a 20 spot. And business is business, everyone. Anything that comes in, I know YouTube takes their cut, but Kevin and I, we split it straight down the middle. That's how things work over here.
We literally cut it in half, literally.
Yeah, literally cut it. Think of it like a divorce, like a reverse divorce. Like we're not splitting up, but we still have to split everything. It's like Bill Alfonso used to say, right down the middle.
Right down the middle.
BTC 316. Thanks, guys, for always keeping it real. My topic is Mercedes Mone in the AEW. I'd love to hear your thoughts why the first 2 weeks of Mercedes on AEW TV only drew 800,000. What is the problem?
There's no problem. It's the expectations is the problem. She is I'm not going to bash her because she's a star. There's no doubt about it. But what level star is she, DT? Yeah. And it's not, what really, let's take, yes, she was in a main event a couple of years ago, WrestleMania against Bianca Belair. That's a claim to fame that everybody wants to have. I headline WrestleMania. It's a bragging thing that you can go around like once you get in the Hall of Fame. Hall of Famer, Once you headline WrestleMania, it is a big deal. But the bloom comes off the rose, as we used to say on the old show. After a while, that was a few years ago. She left WWE in kind of a sketchy way. 50% of the people sided with her. 50% of people that felt she walked out like a brat and left TV. You never do that. It's a no-no, the way she left with Naomi. A lot of people think Naomi's being punished for that now. That's another story. But what level star is she, DT? What did people, was there too much expectations of us as fans to think they're going to do over 1 million? Now, personally, I never thought that they were going to do 1 million, but I thought they'd get close. I was kind of surprised her numbers were low. What about you, DT?
Yeah, the funny thing is, just one little point I want to add to what BTC said. It's not only the first 2 weeks of Mercedes Mone, it's the first 2 weeks of Okada as a signed full-time wrestler there. It's also the first couple of weeks of Will Ospreay as a full-time superstar there, and they still have not generated any additional ratings. And, the thing is, and I thought it was cute, there's always an excuse, when Mercedes Mone debuted and the main event only did 627,000 viewers, which was tanked. And if you watched the show that night, she was going to show up in the main event. So everybody knew that she was going to be there. But people were like, oh, well, they never announced Mercedes Mone was going to be on March 13th. So now we go a week later, and Mercedes Mone is advertised for 7 full days, and their rating goes from 798,000 to 800,000. In 2,000 viewership change. I said this last Friday, and I kind of still feel exactly the same way. If anybody tuned into last Friday's show, before Mercedes Mone, ever did a thing, this past Wednesday, I said, who is she going to interact with? Julie Hart, Willow Nightingale, and the template with Mercedes is the same template they have been using with Toni Storm, Deonna Purrazzo, or anyone else. She shows up, cuts a promo, I'm here, I love AEW. All right, that's expected. Following week, cuts another promo, random person comes out, somebody makes the save, then it's going to lead into a squash match a week or two later, and then it's going to ultimately build to a tag match, and then that'll build to maybe a pay-per-view match against her and someone else, and then once that pay-per-view is over, then someone else is going to randomly come out, and the thing is, you know, you go from Sasha with Bianca Belair, Sasha with Naomi, Sasha with Charlotte Flair, Sasha with whoever you want to put on the WWE roster. Now you're going to Julie Hart, Sky Blue, Willow Nightingale, Chris Statlander. Excuse me, forgive me if I don't feel uber excited about it. She makes a remark about taking the movement global. What, so China could see Willow Nightingale versus Mercedes Moné? They need a lot more than Mercedes Moné. And plus, it's ass backwards that she joins the company and her first target should be a championship. The first target should be the big dog in the yard. I'm the CEO. Imagine somebody that comes in and claims the CEO and they go after people like really, really low on the food chain. And why? Because she got injured during a match with Willow. I have unfinished business. It's not unfinished business in AEW. It's just that they don't have the toys for her to go with. And it's the same problem with Okada. It's the same problem with Ospreay. Not as bad because they have so many other male stars that they build. For me, I stopped watching AEW on a regular basis. And I've always tried to come up with analogies as to why. And the best way I could explain it is this. Tony Khan could bring in Will Ospreay. Tony Khan could bring in Okada. Tony Khan could bring in Mercedes Moné. Tony Khan could bring him anybody he wants. Tony Khan's problem is it's like me buying a Lamborghini, a Ferrari, a Testarossa, which I guess is the same thing. I could bring in all these exotic cars, but if I don't know how to drive stick, you know, it's like I have these nice cars in my driveway. Look, everybody, I have a Ferrari, but I don't drive stick, so I don't know how to fucking drive it properly. And the thing is that Mercedes Moné, they're not building around people that I give a shit that want to see. There's no pay-per-view build. I'm not expecting it to be WrestleMania level, but it's so predictable of what they were going to do. You know, and Julie Hart, Sky Blue, you know, Willow Nightingale, you know, maybe it's unfinished business for Mercedes and Willow. It's not for me. You know, you have Bryan Danielson have a dream match against Shibata. Yeah, it might be a dream match for Bryan Danielson. It ain't a dream match for me. So it's just what's on TV. You know, Mercedes Moné is a giant fish in a tiny pond. And just because, you know, you put a new paint job in front of a house that has a lot of flaws in it, you know, you might be able to get some people to be, oh, that house looks nice. But when you dig a little bit deeper, nobody, you know, just the core audience cares. I don't know if
the opponents that they have for her, you just named them. And unless you watch AEW, you don't know who some of these people are. If you're not an avid watcher of AEW and you hear Julie Hart, you're like, Bret Hart's ex-wife is wrestling now, and you know, it's you know, Willow Nightingale. These are, you have to be a real student of the game to know who these casuals don't know who that is, and people are going to tune over, you know, want to check her out. I figure a lot of WWE fans, even if they're like loyal to the E, they're not going to, you know, I'm going to watch her debut and see what she has to say, but then I'm going to tune back out. But they'd stay if they knew that she was feuding with someone that was familiar, someone who had kind of a household name. You know, Britt Baker, I think you miss AEW, at least she was. You know, Thunder Rosa, you have to be more of a full watcher of different federations to know she's not a casual known name. Yeah. So she's going to be, now Saraya might be somebody, but Saraya's been a big disappointment. I like to see them having a feud would make sense. That would draw some attention because they have history. Saraya, Paige, and Sasha. Outside of that, though, DT, maybe it's up to Mercedes Moné to build some of those names up and make them more of a household name.
Right. And just because they're on the opposite side of the ring doesn't mean that all of a sudden they're instant draw. If that was the case, people would be tearing the house down to see Becky Lynch take on Xia Li. Yeah. It's just because someone is facing a major star. It's interesting because when you go back to TNA, back when Christian went to TNA and others, they were going to TNA because WWE was kind of misusing them at the time, and they wanted to work more of a part-time schedule. AEW has been around for about 5 years, and this is one of the very rare times that someone arguably in their prime chooses AEW over WWE. Yes, it's about money, it's about building brand and this and that, but usually, like when someone goes to AEW from WWE, it's because WWE either released them or they're past their prime, or maybe their value is a little bit overhyped. She might arguably be the first person to sign with AEW that is technically in her prime that can main event a pay-per-view, main event, be the center point. The problem is they don't have the people surrounding her, and we're not stupid. We could see between the lines. They are not treating Thunder Rosa like they give two shits about her. They launched Collision, and they brought her back, and she's fighting Queen Aminata. She's fighting a tag match. Just because suddenly she's on Dynamite, they're finally turning the corner. We see what they did with Hobbs. We see what they did with Wardlow. We know after 5 years that what is on TV is based on what Tony Khan likes, what the people behind the scene liked, and their friends that they want to push. This is not about, the fans are really dictating what you see on TV. If that was the case, Swerve Strickland should have been champion 2-3 months ago.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's not a knock on Samoa Joe, but, they just, Swerve Strickland is not, this yes movement where you can take 6 months and gradually build it. This is now, we're approaching the month of April, and Swerve Strickland, it feels like, there's this perception, and I do believe he'll become heavyweight champion, but man, right now, it's just, I see what's on TV. You're trying to tell me this is a dream match. This is must see. This is 4-star. This is 5-star. Half the roster I don't care about. They never gave me a reason to care about them. I seem to care about them more when they get injured. Oh, I hope he's all right. I hope she's okay. Outside of that, I have no interest whatsoever. Now, staying on the Mercedes topic for a second, Scorpio 1117 sends in, who will be a big star within 2 years? Jade Cargill and Mercedes Moné. And they basically traded one star for another. PSDT come back on Sundays. Hey, if we get nice turnouts and, it's beneficial for everybody involved, yeah, we'll do more Sundays. But,
sure.
Mercedes is already a major star. But 2 years from now, Mercedes has that history. But 2 years from now, who do you think is going to be the more talked about name in 2 years on Twitter, on Facebook? 2 years from now, Kev, let's see. It's March 24th, 2026. Who do you think the social media is going to be talking about more 2 years from now? Mercedes Moné's weekly antics in AEW or Jade Cargill? I think it's Jade Cargill, and it's not even close. Kev? I hope we didn't lose Kev. Did I tell a bad joke? I think we might have lost Kev. There we go. He's back. Yeah, we're by the way, everyone, we're ironing out a couple little kinks, doing the shows live again because we haven't done one of these in years and years and years. But Kev, is it pretty obvious that Jade Cargill will be talked about a lot more 2 years from now, just based on what the rosters have to offer? I don't hear Kev.
You don't hear me?
No, now I hear you. Okay, here.
Okay. Yeah, I lost you. I don't know what happened.
Oh, I don't know. Okay.
Yeah, no, I don't know what happened. But,
sorry about that.
No, it's okay. I don't know. I was checking to see if no, I'm still on
Yeah,
pause.
you're good.
I'm going to say Jade Cargill. If she stays, if she doesn't get injured, she stays healthy. I'm going to go with Jade Cargill because the Mercedes has been around. Sasha's been around, and people like the shiny new toys, even though Jade's been around less time. And it depends. The WWE is going to feature her really strong. I mean, you saw that vignette. You see the way they featured at Royal Rumble. With the WWE machine behind it, you got to put your money on Jade Cargill.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you just look at these rosters up and down. I mean, 2 years from now, unless we get a couple of big names end up leaving WWE and going to AEW, I mean, who is Mercedes going to feud with 2 years from now? Britt Baker? Is that going to be the center of attention? You know, I just, they don't have enough names to circle around Mercedes Moné. I compare it to a superstar going to a, AAA baseball team. All right. Just moving on to some other questions. Chris Cuttra, thank you for the 10 spot, Chris. DTKC.
I keep losing you, dude.
Yeah, I don't know why. You got me now? Why am I losing Kev? Hang on a second. I just changed the connection over here. I got you now.
It's nothing to do with my end.
Yeah, no, I don't know. It was something on my end.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Chris Cuttra, thank you for the 10 spot. Do you think after Friday we may get Rey Mysterio versus Dominic at WrestleMania, but with a classic lucha stipulation like mask versus hair? Plus, what would be more satisfying to fans, seeing Dom lose his hair or Rey lose his mask?
See Dom lose his hair. I mean, that mullet is fucking classic. I mean, Rey's not going to lose his mask, so it's going to be Dom with a haircut, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I think this is how they're going to get Rhea Ripley away from Dominic Mysterio. I think when Dominic gets his head shaved and he looks geeky, bald, I think Rhea Ripley's going to be like, ugh, what the hell do I have here? And I think Rhea Ripley's going to drop Dom.
Yeah, I think Rhea Ripley's going to be a babyface. If you saw the clip of her against Nia Jax, was it last night on the house show?
Yes.
She was doing the Rikishi thing, but Rhea Ripley's turning babyface.
Yeah. So I think we're definitely going to get mask versus hair, which, it's interesting because after a year, this is the best ad for Dominic, which would be fun, losing your hair against your dad. But after a year, this came out of nowhere. Now, the only thing is, I have a feeling we may see Andrade in the corner of Rey and Santos Escobar in the corner of Dominic.
Probably.
Yeah, I think so. So I think we could. I expect Dominic on Raw to build on this. We're only 2 weeks away. So, this match has to be announced this week. So we'll probably see the match announced this week. I think it would be cool. I think it would be fun, especially based on the last time we had somebody lose their hair at WrestleMania, and that was Vince McMahon with Donald Trump.
But Lashley and Umaga, right?
Yes, Lashley and Umaga. Yep. Sticky Fingers Frank. MJF was removed from the AEW roster page. Do you think he's gone from AEW? What do you think, Kev?
Nah, they're just working the fans.
I agree. I think they want us to try to forget about MJF and make us think that he might leave to go to WWE, and then he'll just pop up. And now I'm starting to think MJF, when he does return, he might end up getting involved with Okada, with the Young Bucks. This might end up being like a little storyline with the Young Bucks, but MJF, he's been gone now for 3 months. And, he had some injuries, but he's got to be coming back to TV soon. I would think within the next month, he's got to be back on TV. Plus, the guy could talk. I mean, if he can't wrestle, look at Adam Cole. Adam Cole can't wrestle either, and they're using him on TV. Why not use MJF if he could at least talk? His skits with Adam Cole that had nothing to do with wrestling used to be some of the biggest ratings of their shows.
If they can utilize them, they will. Yeah, I think they're just working people, taking them off the site.
Okay, yeah. Bernard, shout out to Bernard. Favorite feud of the 80s? Pick one. I mean, we're going back 40 years, spur of the moment, but pick one of your favorite feuds from the 1980s. Could be any company whatsoever, including AWA.
Favorite feuds from the 1980s. Oh, I mean, this is old school. Guardian of Chaos will appreciate this one. Buzz Sawyer and Tommy Rich in Georgia, 83, 84.
I remember seeing all those wrestling magazines and seeing Tommy Rich bleeding profusely with the white blondest locks. The blood used to look 10 times worse than what it was. That shit was pretty awesome to see on the magazines. And I did not get to see those matches in real time when they happened. I only knew what I saw in the magazines.
Yeah, my friend had all the stations, so I used to go to my friend John's house to watch it. Another great feud back in the day in the NWA in the Mid-Atlantic was the Briscoes versus Steamboat and Jay Youngblood. They're just, it was also, I had a little bit of nostalgia watching the Slaughter documentary the other night. The Slaughter Iron Sheik feud was pretty cool too in '84 in WWF. Yes. But there's a lot of great feuds. I mean, that's a real, and of course the Von Erichs and the Freebirds in World Class. I mean, that's what got me into World Class and made me a big Von Erich fan. That feud was just legendary.
Yeah, and believe it or not, Kev, I kid you not, just to bring it up again, when I did the enhanced version for the channel members on YouTube Monday 18th, I put the Warner Wolf Plays of the Year 84, and sure enough, one of the clips that Warner Wolf put up was Sergeant Slaughter and the Iron Sheik feud of the year.
Yeah, no, that was, it wasn't as good as the Patterson Slaughter New York street fight, but what was it? What was it? The barracks brawl? What did they call that with Slaughter and boot camp match? Match.
I'll never forget. Patterson had that too tight I Love New York white T-shirt on.
God, tucked in.
I know, like, if anybody knows, like, the 70s in the Village at that time, you thought that he was gonna just like throw on a jacket and just go right to like the nearest bar and try to pick up somebody.
Straight to the Blue Oyster.
Yep.
Jesus Christ. Good Lord.
Oh man, Anthony P. Do we have any Coliseum video memories? Favorite wrestling tapes, New York video stores back in the day, favorite shows we attended live. That's pretty loaded for flashback. But, the funny thing is, Kev, whenever I think of Coliseum Home Video, I always think of, what was it, gripes, grudges, gripes and grunts. I think it was the Samoans on the front and somebody was smashing a chair over Offa's head or something.
George the Animal Steel was on there. They even had the Missing Link, who was in for a cup of coffee. If anybody remembers, Missing Link was in WWF in '85 for like 2 months, I think, with Bobby Heenan as his manager. But they used to have all different. The Coliseum video that I remember the most, anybody who's really old school collector of tapes, is of course the classic WrestleMania 1 when it went on sale with that big hard case cover with Mr. T and Hulk Hogan on it.
Yeah,
that's a classic. I mean, I'm sure it's a collector's item. If anybody has that here in the chat, probably worth something one day if it's in pristine condition, still plays on a VCR. But yeah, Coliseum had those big hard case, big hard shell, huge cases. Used to go to like there's a lot of mom and pop video stores back in the day in Sheepshead Bay where I grew up in Brooklyn. I'm sure by you in Queens, DT, I belonged to like 4 different video stores back in the 80s. Did you, DT?
I was part of
multiple ones.
Yeah, I think the Video Connection was the one near my house. That's the video place that I always told the story about that X-rated movie that I took out and was too embarrassed to return. And that's how my parents. Yeah, for those that don't know the story. And by the way, thank you, T. Kinnell. The Coliseum video I was talking about was bloopers, bleeps, and body slams.
That's right. I think I had it, or me or Draper bought it. My brother, John, you guys know him as John Draper. We had a bunch of them. What I didn't buy, John bought. What John didn't buy, I bought. I don't know what happened to a lot of those. I have a lot of stuff in storage. I think I still have some of those old Coliseum tapes. But yeah, those were classic. We rented them multiple times in the 80s, constantly.
I think my favorite match that I saw exclusively on Coliseum Home Video that for some reason I didn't get to see on regular television, it was the Fijian strap match between Roddy Piper and Snuka. And I remember Jesse Ventura was doing like the lead-in for all the matches. And he was like, coming up next, the Fijian strap match. And It's just, I'm sure the video's on YouTube, but that was epic, man. The Coliseum of video was awesome back in the day. What were the tapes, like 1999?
Yeah, I think they were I think they were around $20, and in the early '80s, $20 would be equivalent probably today to be $75, something like that.
Yeah, it's a lot more today, but those videos were good, man. People are asking what's the X-rated story. All right, very, very quick. Back in the mid 80s, I had gone to my local video store with my friends, and we got a little bit mischievous. We went into the X-rated section, and I rented out a movie I think called Loose Ends. I think that was the name of the movie, and I brought it home, and I played it, and then my mom, I think, had come home or something, so I hid it underneath my dresser, and I forgot to return it, and then I was too embarrassed to return it, and the next thing you know, they sent a late notice to our house, and my mom says, "Did you rent a movie called Loose Ends?" And I was like, "No, I don't know what you're talking about." But back then, if you didn't return a movie, they charge you like $70, $80 to replace the movie.
Oh, no, I know. No, believe me, I know. I've been on the hook for a few of those back in the day.
Yep. So that is a legit movie. If anybody looks it up, it's called Loose Ends. I don't know why I rented that, but that was in the mid 80s. So, and favorite shows attended live. I mean, my God, indie shows, garden shows. I mean, I think the more to answer with a question, Kevin, when we gone to wrestling shows live, was there ever really a show that we went to that sucked? I mean, wrestling is usually good live, even if you had average matches. Just the vibe and just the vibe in the air, and just getting out and seeing it up close and personal. I mean, I don't think there was a bad show I ever went to.
Probably my favorite show I went to, and shout out to Phil Rhea from Turnbuckle Throwbacks. He was with us. We went with 18 people to SummerSlam '97. We went with 3 cars full of people. We took up 2 rows. It was me and my brother, guys from the club that I worked at, Castle Heights, the whole staff, a bunch of hardcore guys from hardcore bands, and we went about 18 of us. I remember my friend John fronted the money for everyone's ticket, and John was collecting from everyone in the parking lot as they came through. And John was just holding all this money. That was, of course, the night that Owen dropped Austin on his head at SummerSlam.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we never rolled so deep with so many people. It's like, if anybody would have messed with us, they would have realized how many people were.
I know. I was thinking, like, I could picture like the Warriors, like just.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, we were like, John put out like about 2,800 between everybody's ticket, and was getting paid back by everyone in the park line, keeping track on his little notebook. But Phil Rhea was sitting next to me. Like I said, Phil does Turnbuckle Throwbacks podcast, old friend of Don Tony Kevin Castro, and a personal friend of mine for 30 years. And he could tell you, we had a ball at that show. And Undertaker was on that show too. Of course, Undertaker lost to Brett that night when Shawn super kicked him. Shawn was wearing his little dopey referee costume. We also got to see Pillman that night. Pillman was one of Pillman's.
Oh, that's awesome.
Right, yeah. Pillman's last appearances in October. He would have passed a few months later in October. So yeah, I would say SummerSlam '97 was just an epic time, and I never went to a wrestling event with so many people. It was amazing. It was a really good time.
That's awesome. I love hearing stories like that. You have, when you go there, even if it's just a basic house show, you go with the right people and you get the right vibe in the air, and you'll be telling stories about it 20, 30 years later.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's just amazing. The amount of wrestling was so, people are saying it's getting like that again. I mean, I don't know. I'm older now. I'm in my 50s. I mean, then I was in my 30s. It was different, but if it goes back to that, great. I mean, I want the fans should have the memories that we had going back in the day. And listen, nothing is ever the same, but people's experiences and the way young eyes look at a product is the way we looked at it, DT 25, 30 years ago. The way they look at it today, young people.
Yep. Agree. Shout out to Rob Ace. Rob, thank you for the 5 spot, my friend.
Yeah, thank you, Rob.
No question. Just a shout out. And I thank you very much, my friend, for that. Got to give a special shout out to Hollywood 055 with a 20 spot.
Nice.
Kev,
thank you.
Been a listener since 07. Just want to know the name of the song used at the beginning of Castle Chronicles.
Oh, geez. I don't even know if I changed it in years.
Beastie
If it's
Boys.
still, Is it Beastie Boys, or is it? We were using Higher Ground from Red Hot Chili Peppers for a while. Did we switch to Fight for Your Right to Beastie Boys?
No, you still have Red Hot Chili Peppers for KNT Chronicles.
Oh, KNT. Okay, so what do we got on Castle Chronicles? Is it Beastie
for
Boys
Castle
now?
Chronicles? It's what's that? Sure Shot? Is that the name of the song?
Oh, Sure Shot. Yeah, from the Beastie Boys. Yeah.
Yes.
For Castle Chronicles, it's Sure Shot from Beastie Boys, and KNT with me and Trez, it's Higher Ground, Red Hot Chili Peppers. So you get a double question answer.
Yeah, and Hollywood. I'm sure that there's a version of it available, but me, since I used to DJ, I used to like fucking around and take songs and condense them a little bit. But I actually made an instrumental of that song for Sure Shot. So yeah, so if you want it, just DM me on Patreon and I'll send you, the file. You could download it. I have the regular version, and I made like a special instrumental. Especially, when you use it as an intro, you try to keep the beginning for like 60 seconds, and then you just gradually blend it into the podcast. But I think I have like a 3-minute version of it. So if you want it, DM me. I'll be more than happy to send it over.
Yeah, thank you, Hollywood.
Yeah, thank you, Hollywood. But very, very generous of you for that. We got a little random question from John. Thank you for the 2-spot, John. 3-cheese lasagna, Kev, or American chop suey? I already know the answer, but
3-cheese
you
lasagna.
could speak for me on this.
Lasagna, yeah, lasagna all the time.
Yeah, I chop suey just looks like phlegm.
Yeah, I'm not that big on Chinese food, and it's nothing against my beloved Chinese people. The house I own is owned by Chinese people. My landlord, I have a wonderful relationship with them. I'm just not big into Chinese food. I just never was. I mean, my two things outside of Italian, I love Mexican food. Mexican food and Italian are my two favorites.
Absolutely. My favorite Chinese food that I eat right now, being on keto, is egg foo young. Just no gravy. I could eat pounds of it, and thank God it doesn't fuck with my sugar or nothing. Egg foo young, I'm obsessed with right now. But chop suey, I don't know. My wife eats lobster chop suey or something, and to me, it just looks like phlegm. It's like I don't want to get anybody.
But the lasagna, I mean, Austin Nance is saying lasagna. The thing about lasagna is it's so filling. If you eat that, you're done for the day when you have a lot of lasagna. Lasagna is so fucking filling.
Yeah.
It really is.
You got noodles, sauce, chopped
layers,
mozzarella,
because you're eating layers. Yeah, you're eating layers.
It's nonstop.
Starch central.
Oh, God. I miss lasagna. I'm good at I might actually eat regular food on Wednesday because we're going to this Italian restaurant my parents are taking me. And I'm not kidding. I might actually order some lasagna for real. Either that or eggplant.
I don't have it that. Yeah, eggplant. Like, I don't have it all the time. I mean, same thing with me. I mean, I'm even older than you, and I got to watch myself with certain things. But I don't have it all the time. I would say I would have a lasagna once every other month, like Italian food. Once a month, once every other month, and always on a Sunday.
Yes, always Sunday. Yeah. A lot of Italian restaurants on Sunday for their specials, Sunday sauce.
Yeah, definitely.
Sunday sauce, homemade tomato sauce, pasta with a meatball, a sausage, and if you go to the right restaurant, like a nice pork braciole with it.
That's good too.
Yeah. Shout out to Roger Rubio. Thank you, Roger, my friend. Cup of coffee on him. Much love, and he's enjoying his Sunday night with Don, Tony, and Kevin Castle.
Yeah, thank you, Roger.
Yeah, what's up, Raj? He I think his favorite team is the Giants. I'm a little pissed off. Giants. I think the Giants just got Blake Snell. I think.
Did they? Yeah, Roger's a big San Fran fan.
Yeah.
It's like 49ers and Giants, of course.
Yep. Little pissed off. Giants look good this year. Giants definitely look good this year. Kevin Milwaukee, what's up, Kev? What do you think the company's pivot would be if Roman Reigns or Cody Rhodes get seriously injured night 1 and cannot compete night 2? Kev, what do you think happens if Cody or Roman got injured on night 1?
I don't even try to think about stuff like that, but now that he puts that out there, I mean, listen, anything can happen to anybody at any time. You knock on wood, that's major. I mean, those are two guys that they should put in a plastic bubble. I wouldn't even put them on the road right now. I would just keep them working out at the gym, light workouts, don't do anything to risk anything. I don't even, it's something to think about, but you put that out of your mind. Roman's had a good track record with not being injured. Now, people can make Cappy doesn't work that much. Still, he gets injured. It's a major fucking thing. And Cody Rhodes, forget about it. We can't afford another injury with Cody Rhodes.
Yeah.
But they have a plethora of talent underneath that could come up, pick it up. Everyone from Sami Zayn, Drew McIntyre, Kevin Owens. They got a little bit of a safety net, DT, but I don't want to test that safety net. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I don't want to see anybody replace Reigns or Cody. We need both those guys healthy for Mania.
Yeah, if Roman got hurt, it would be interesting if Rock would be able to do it in place of him on night 2, which I don't think he would. If Cody got injured, I could see one scenario. Damian Priest cashes in.
That's in turn Damian Priest babyface.
Yes.
If Cody got injured, absolutely. I mean, clearly wouldn't be everybody's cup of tea, but again, you have to make do. It's like anything else on baseball. Someone's out for the series. You got to make do. And injuries happen, despite it's a choreographed or predetermined sport. These guys could get injured, at home. They can get, cut their hand, peeling an apple. You never know what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. But, the Rhodes or Reigns getting hurt at this point would be disastrous. So, knock on wood, let's not even
I hear the wood.
Not even think about that. Yeah, you heard the wood? There you go.
I heard the wood.
Hey, there you go. All right.
Shout out to Too Cool Crew. Thank you for the 10-spot crew. Too Cool. Hey, DT and Kev, been a fan of you guys for years. I'm going to wrestling school next year. You have advice for my journey, and do you think we will see a 3 Faces of Foley gimmick in the future with someone else? I added to someone else because I don't think we'll see. Foley right now, I think he's worried more about the 3 chins of Foley. With all due respect, Foley's my favorite, but advice.
Well, it's funny, DT, who was a person who listened to our show back in 2009-10 and ended up going to wrestling school, and now he's a WWE superstar. I'll give you a hint. It's KK, Karrion Kross, if you remember. About years ago, some people don't even know, he was a listener of the show well before he got into wrestling in 2013, was listening to us in the early days and used to tell us that he was going to wrestling school. And, you listen, it's like anything else, it's a long shot, but you put in the time, you put in the work, you have the talent. You will succeed. You work hard, and good things will happen. Hopefully, you pursue your dreams, and you just hope for the best. So, advice would be work as hard as you can. Basically, be dedicated and see it through. But as you know, DT, it's going to be a struggle at first, but it's well worth it, man, to pursue your dreams. I mean, imagine someone today just thinking about going to wrestling school. 5 years from now, they're on television. It's a beautiful dream. So definitely pursue it, man, especially if you're young. Go for it. That's all I could say. Seriously, that's the best thing, especially if you're a young person and you're going to be dedicated to the craft. It could take a long time, or you could catch lightning in a bottle, but be persistent.
Yeah, my advice would be enjoy yourself. Do it because you love wrestling. Don't do it because you think you're going to get bank, because even in podcasting, there's so many people over the past bunch of years, they start a podcast, not because they love wrestling, but because they can make money off of it. And the problem is for many, 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 even just in wrestling, you're going to work shows for free. You're going to put up rings. You're going to feel like there's no path. And the more you enjoy yourself, even if it doesn't work out, there's an old phrase. I think people understand why I'm saying it with wrestling. It's better to have loved and lost than to never have loved at all. It's better to try and fail than never try at all. Because then years later, when it's too late, you'll always kick yourself, man, I should have at least tried. Me. Like 15 years ago, I tried. I went to VPW wrestling school for 9 months, and the only reason why I was even able to do it because I was strung up on painkillers. It was my car accident put me in a deep, deep, deep depression. And I did managing stuff, but I wanted to do a little more because that's what I wanted to do before I had my car accident. And I convinced myself, I'm going to give it a shot. I failed, and it was very, very sad to fail, but I tried. And now a lot of you out there, unfortunately, are the witness of me telling the same stories 150 times over the years, but it's better to have tried and failed than not try at all, because that'll just, it'll torment you at times. It'll torment you. Have a good time. Have a good time. Go in it because for the right reasons. And even if you fail, you'll have a lot of fun stories and memories to fall back on. And as far as 3 faces of Foley gimmick in the future, I can't think of anybody offhand right now, but I could see maybe somebody who wears a mask or has a face paint or something where they could go totally out of character and come in as someone else. But, you know, the Foley thing was very unique because not many wrestlers have multiple gimmicks and they equally, you know, or do really, really well. You know, back in the day, even when Foley was Mankind, to me, he was always Cactus. Then they did Cactus, and then, you know, Mankind became Lovable Mankind, and then, you know, just there's nobody right now that comes to mind, but someone with a crazy gimmick, if they really get themselves over, then they can try to pull double duty or triple duty and, you know, just come out with a different gimmick. Yeah, you have to have multiple gimmicks in order to even do something like this, and Foley was successful with it. All right, Tyree Jones, were we ever fans of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies and Hellraiser? If so, which one do you prefer more? I know this is up your alley. Did I lose Kev? I might have a couple of, I think I'm resetting a technical issue over here. Kev, you there? Hang on, guys. I think this is my end. Hold on, I'm fixing something over here. Bear with us. You know, this is the first time we're back doing this, so. Kev, you there? Did we lose Kev? Just, guys, hang on for 1 second. I'm sure he'll get back. I'm looking at my connection. I don't see anything happening on my end, so I'm sure I'll be back in a second. Hang on a second. You guys hear me? All right. Well, Kev will be on for 1 second. Just, guys, just give him for 1 second. We had a little outage over here, and I think it's my end. Just quick plug for tomorrow. Tomorrow night, Kevin and I will be doing a Don, Tony, and Kevin Castle show live on Discord. So dtkcshow.com is the website. dtkcdiscord.com is where we will be live. And that thumbnail may actually change. I might have to Photoshop a bald head on Dominic Mysterio's head because especially with the rumors of this hair versus mask match going down, that might be the topic of conversation tomorrow. So I'm just waiting for Kev to reconnect. So just bear with us for a second. Yeah, let me just see. Kev, disconnect and reconnect the link. Guys, I sincerely apologize. Like I said, this is the first time Kev and I are doing this together for after, 4 years on YouTube. So, you know, we might have a little connection issue here and there, but, you know, it'll iron itself out. So I'm not going anywhere. So we'll get Kev back on momentarily. Yeah. So let me get into another question right now in the meantime. And I know as soon as I start getting into the question, I'm sure Kev will be back. But let's see what we got over here. We'll go back to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre conversation because I know Kev was a big. Yeah, I got you. I knew it. I said as soon as I go to the next question, I had to. Yeah, I got you.
Hold on a second. Let me.
Yeah, no, it's all good. It's all good. It's all good.
Hold on a second.
No problems.
I don't know if it's YouTube or it's a Verizon thing like you had the other night.
Yeah, no, it's okay. It's all good. Hey, you know, nobody's connections, you know, are perfect. So even if we have a couple of minutes, people go take a little pee break or something. It's all good.
You know?
Yeah, I hear you fine. Okay.
Into the chat.
Yeah, I got you. So, Kev, were you a fan of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Hellraiser movies back then? And if so, which one did you prefer more? I got you.
Ask me the question again.
No, it's okay. Tyree Jones is asking, were you ever a fan of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Hellraiser movies? And if so, which one did you prefer more? Kev?
Hellraiser movies at all. I didn't even watch the new one that they put out.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't hear me again?
Yeah, I hear you. You're good. You're good.
Okay. No, I'm Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah, I never liked either one. I was into horror films. I was into horror films in the early 80s with my grandmother, but I fell out of love with horror films for a pretty long time. I just never really got into it. I saw Pinhead once with my friends, but I don't even think I paid like really close attention to the movie. So I lost a lot of love for horror films. I don't know if I just became numb to them because my grandmother used to take me when I was just like a preteen. You know, and I look back on it years later and I used to say to myself, like, why did she take me to these disgusting, crazy ass movies when I was so young, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, neither one for me. Neither one for me. Eric Williams, where were we the night Owen Hart passed away?
I was at a show in the city. My brother's band was headlining Coney Island High. My brother's band shut down. They were playing with Sworn Enemy in the Coney Island High in the city. And there were back then was at 99. No one had a cell phone. But I remember we were walking out of Coney Island High. We were walking down the street. We were getting ready to take the train home. And on the train, someone was telling us that a wrestler died. And everyone was just on the train. It was just like going around the train. And everyone's like, oh, who died? Oh, somebody fell to. So it's like, who the fuck would have fallen? And no one really knew what was going on. Then someone said it was Owen Hart. But I remember we were at a show in the city, and we were on our way back. Me and my brother, John, were going back to Sheepshead Bay, where we were living at the time. And that's how we heard about it. We were at a show that night on a Sunday. My brother was doing a rare headlining show at Coney Island High.
Wow. Douche says, holy shit, a reference to Shutdown. Awesome.
Yeah.
For me, you know, this was during a very short period of time when I was married. I got my marriage annulled. I had just broken up with my ex, and I was still living in the house that we were living in temporarily. And I remember Over the Edge being on TV, and I was in a different room. And then I heard, I think it was, I don't know if it was Jim Ross, but I remember someone saying that Owen Hart has passed away. And I was like, what? And I remember having like a computer at the time. I had just had my hotline for maybe a year or two. And like back then you had to like connect 28.8K modem. You didn't log on in 2 seconds. It took a couple of minutes. And I'm like, huh, what? And we didn't have social media back then. I don't even think maybe MySpace. No, MySpace wasn't even around yet.
No, there was no MySpace. There was no social media in 99.
Yeah, so it was just like, I think like Prodigy chat rooms and stuff. And I was like, huh? And then all of a sudden, like little by little, you started seeing on the news. And I remember putting on, I think it was Channel 7 News that night. And one of the lead-in stories was Owen Hart falling to his death. And I was like, holy shit. And, you know, I don't know. You know what I mean when I say when you get chills down your spine. Like, I can't remember the last time I had like a legitimate chill go down my spine, but I remember that night getting one after the other, after the other, after the other. I was just like, holy shit. It was surreal. And, you know, just so people understand, you know, the first couple of days, there was no talk online that, oh, they should have stopped the show and this and that. later on, when you heard about Owen's fear of heights and, that Owen maybe not want to done the blue blazer thing off the top, that's when people were like, getting a little bit more, oh, should they have stopped the show? And it is a legitimate question to ask. I mean, without a doubt, but that night, it was just surreal. There was like silence and people were just disbelief. It was crazy. And Owen Hart tribute on Raw was, I remember people selling it on eBay. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, no, I remember. Yeah. I do remember. We stayed, when we got home, we went back to my apartment and we watched so my brother was temporarily living with me because my brother John was getting married not too long after that. So he was staying with me, like kind of living in my front room of my apartment. And we watched the news all night, all the Channel 2, Channel 7. We kept seeing if anybody else had any more news on the Owen Hart thing. We were just blown away by that. But I remember it so vividly, actually.
Yeah, it's one of those. You remember where you were and what you were doing. Crazy shit, man. Crazy. Very crazy. Rob Ace, what are our memories of Channel 68 before it became the Home Shopping Network? He was 3 or 4 years old at the time, and he faintly remembers 4 to 5 nights of wrestling on Channel 68.
Yeah, that's where I think I was at the UHF.
Yeah.
That's where we used to watch Florida wrestling on Monday nights.
Mm-hmm.
Then on Saturday afternoon, World Class, followed by Mid-South, which was then the UWF, Bill Watts, then the NWA or Mid-Atlantic. I mean, this is the early 80s, until we didn't get cable in our area till 86. So from 80 to 85, me and my brother, we used to watch, we had the black and white. We would tune in. And anything else we would watch, our friends had cable. My other friend had a satellite dish. We connive our way into going and watching wrestling over there. But 68, that old channel, before it became Home Shopping, had a series of different wrestling shows on, including from Los Angeles. I mean, that's how I knew about wrestlers: Black Gorman, Great Goliath, John Tolos. That's how I knew who John Tolos was when he came in as the coach for Kurt Hennig for that gimmick for a little while.
Yeah.
Remember that? The coach?
Yeah, sure. When he had the whistle and it was just very, very annoying.
John Tolos.
Yep. The funniest thing is my clearest memory of Channel 68 was Uncle Floyd.
Remember that too?
Yeah. I mean, if I remember correctly, Channel 68 was the channel that was the gateway to Wometco Home Theater. Wometco Home Theater was cable TV for us back in the late 70s, early 80s. And if I remember correctly, I think Channel 68 was the channel that you would access to, I think, Wometco Home Theater. And I remember seeing Uncle Floyd at the time. I vaguely remember the wrestling shows, but that's my memories of Channel 68. Later on, it would become Home Shopping Network. But for me, back then, if anybody Googles it, you'll see it's a pretty interesting history. Channel 68, New York. I did WQHT, or is that?
Well, that was part of that was part of the UHF.
Yeah, it was part of the UHF.
From what I remember. Yeah, that's what I mean. It wasn't necessarily 68 that we watched, but to tune into those channels, especially if you had an old school black and white TV, which is what we had in our secondary room. On occasion, our father let us watch it when he wasn't watching a Mets game or Saturday Night Live or whatever he was watching. But we would always have to watch on a black and white TV. But I remember the Uncle Floyd show. There was some like rock concert stuff on there too, like some bands playing live on some TV show. But Uncle Floyd is another like old school memory from there.
I don't remember if Video Music Box was on Channel 68. It might have been Channel 31 or something. I remember Video Music Box.
Something like that. But that was the key thing. If you had a black and white TV, as basic as you thought that was, you can actually tune into a lot of stuff on a black and white TV.
Was 68 where we had scrambled porn? Like late at night?
I'm really not sure. I remember WHT because I remember we were trying to watch Candy Striped Nurses, which is the first porn that me and my brothers and my friends were watching. We were like 12, 13 years old. Candy Striped Nurses, and we just see like little it was grainy. It was like watching Bigfoot footage. Like you think you know what you're seeing, but you're not sure. Yeah. It was like watching Bigfoot.
Yeah.
It was like, it's like I can make out. Is that a woman? It looks like a woman.
I got, later on tonight before I go to sleep, I'm going to go on YouTube, see if anybody has any old footage of Channel 68. That'd be a kick to see if anybody has anything recorded from the late 70s, early 80s from Channel 68. People get an idea as far as what we used to see at the time. But just too far. All right. For you, he wants me to do it once. Anybody that goes back with us when we used to really go at it with TNA, you'll know why this is being done. But for just too far, Mark Magnus. We used to make fun of Magnus, Nick Aldis.
And now he's Nick Aldis. Yeah,
I think he's having a surgery or something. He's getting some type of surgery.
Hurt his arm or something. Yeah.
I'm surprised he's getting it before WrestleMania. You would think that they would just wait. I mean, I know he's not competing or anything, but you would think with the WrestleMania grind, just get your surgery after Mania's over, All right. Mark Rush. Will there ever be a Giants of New York recap show featuring you, myself, Jason Solomonster, and JD from New York? Will there ever be a monster show with us for special episode? I don't see why not. Anything can happen.
I'm sure we can line that up.
Yeah, I'm sure if I get in touch with Jason and JD and we say, hey, you want to come on maybe like a Sunday night or something for an hour or two, I don't see why they wouldn't.
Absolutely.
They're extended family, so I don't see why they wouldn't.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Who should Cody face after WrestleMania, and will he face The Rock at SummerSlam?
I think there's a singles match between them. Those two is their destiny, and I would say WrestleMania. You have some other little bullshit pay-per-views in between that. If they want to wait for a big one, SummerSlam.
Yeah, I got to see how The Rock performs at WrestleMania. So many people feel that The Rock, because he got so jacked up, that he's not mobile. So I got to see how he works at WrestleMania before I go that far to say SummerSlam. I still get this feeling we're going to get Randy Orton versus Cody Rhodes at SummerSlam. But I think we got to see how The Rock performs at WrestleMania. And let's make sure he doesn't get injured. So many people think he's absolutely going to get injured. I mean, I know, when you're wrestling, you got to be very flexible and everything, but I don't see The Rock as being an invalid. I'm sure he's run the ropes. I'm sure he has sparred with people in the ring the last couple of months, before making this decision to put him in the WrestleMania. That's the thing I think people don't understand. I'm not saying you, Mark, but I'm just saying across the board with a lot of people. When they made this decision to put Rock in a tag team match at WrestleMania, The Rock is worked out with these guys. It's not like he's just sitting back doing social media videos and TV appearances and not working out. I'm sure he has gotten in the ring and sparred with Cody or Seth or Roman and said, yeah, I'm good to go. I'm sure WWE officials have looked at The Rock working out closely and feel that he is good enough to go.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. All right. Jimmy Fingers. Thank you for the 20 spot, Jimmy. I am late, guys.
Jimmy.
Not sure if this was brought up. Have we been paying attention to Bo Dallas's Dreadmare YouTube page? Would we like to see this come to fruition where Bo carries on his brother's legacy, if done respectively?
I don't know. I mean, listen, Howdy, Uncle Howdy.
Yes.
They didn't really do much. They didn't really do much with that. He never got to talk. I mean, obviously, Bray's death, ended that. I don't know if Bo can necessarily pick up the ball. Listen, just like Kendall Windham couldn't be Barry Windham, Angelo Mosca Jr. couldn't be Angelo Mosca Sr. Bo Dallas is a good wrestler in his own right, but I don't know if he has the full bore talent that his brother Bray or the creativity that Bray had. Let's be honest, the highest level we saw Bo Dallas outside of being Florida champion was when he was a henchman of The Miz.
Yes.
Yeah. Outside of that, we never really saw him get a push as a single. He never reached the level of Bray's success. And I don't know if he has Bray's gifts of creativity. I mean, just because she has the same last name, that doesn't necessarily mean he could pick up the ball that his brother dropped because of his death.
Yeah, I think it was Jimmy that got me alerted me about the Dreadmare channel already, and I love it. I the thing is, even though they're related, Bo Dallas is not Bray Wyatt, and Bray Wyatt's creativity was in Bray Wyatt's brain. I don't know how much of that Bo Dallas has in his own mindset. It's like, just because I'm related to someone doesn't mean I have the same creative juices or as someone who passed.
Right.
I wouldn't mind seeing Bo Dallas carrying on the legacy of Bray Wyatt, but the thing is that Bo Dallas, if he continues on as a wrestler, he's got to have his own identity and not just be out there simply. It's just like, you look at Eddie Guerrero, you don't want someone out there to pay tribute to Eddie, but then carry on. Technically, you carry Eddie's legacy forward so people never forget about him, but you got to create your own legacy. And Bo Dallas has not been wrestling, so it's like, suddenly he's gonna, and here's another thing, even if he suddenly decides I'm gonna wrestle a somewhat full-time schedule, if Bo Dallas is not that good of a performer inside the ring, and he is focused more on carrying a legacy of Bray Wyatt, what is he left with? I want to see this documentary that they're gonna air next Monday. I want to see them announce him for the Hall of Fame. And then you go further from there. I mean, Chavo, when Eddie passed, Chavo, they got rid of the Kerwin White character, but Chavo carried on his own legacy. Granted, not very good afterwards, but I don't want Bo Dallas to be remembered as someone trying to continue what Bray Wyatt did. It's tragic. We celebrate it. We never forget about it. But if Bo Dallas is going to do anything, he has to do his own thing. Because if it's not on the level of Bray Wyatt, there's going to be a lot of scrutiny, and it's unfair, I think, to him.
It's true.
I think it's unfair. Thank you, Jimmy, for that. Theme parks and things with Johnny. Thoughts and opinions on a Show Otani situation, on the illegal booking gambling. What could happen to Otani? Does Pete Rose come back because of predictions of what could happen? Basically, do we think Pete Rose will ever be accepted back in baseball? And what do we think with the Otani situation with the illegal booking? I don't follow this illegal booking gambling stuff all that much. I just feel it's a double standard, Johnny. In my opinion, Pete Rose, he became the all-time hit leader, not because he bribed pitchers to throw it straight down the middle so he could get a base hit off of it.
And also, he wasn't on performance-enhancing drugs. Pete Rose was a natural hitter.
Yeah. I feel at this point, Pete Rose has paid for his sins. I think you let him back in the Hall of Fame. And, anything that happens with gambling in any way, shape, or form, this is the slippery slope you get into. You look what you did to Pete Rose, and then you start saying, oh, well, this person should be treated the same, or people that are bitter about Pete Rose still not being in the Hall of Fame will turn around, and it's a messy situation. I don't think either one should be put together, but I feel that Pete Rose definitely should be in the Baseball Hall of Fame. He's earned it. He fucked up.
And also, he's getting on in years too. I mean, we don't know how much longer Pete's got to be in his 80s now, right?
He's got to be. I mean, he was in his 40s in 85.
80. Yeah, he's got to be. Yeah, no, my dad would have turned 81 the other day, and he lived. So Pete's got to be the same age or older than my father. So yeah, I mean, what are they waiting for? Put him in the Hall of Fame, but it's ridiculous. I mean, they punished this guy enough. I mean, he didn't murder anybody. My God, come on.
Yeah, Bernard says he's 82.
Yeah, I mean, come on. How much longer we're going to have this guy around? Give him his moment. He's the all-time hits leader by natural process. He did not take performance-enhancing drugs like a lot of other players, Maguire, Canseco, all these other guys who were questionable careers. They were decent careers before they got juiced up. Pete Rose is a natural great hitter. Like, again, the all-time hits leader. How is he not in the Hall of Fame? Okay, he didn't kill anybody. Again, DT, that gambling, I think it's just a conspiracy to keep him out. Because you know what else, DT? Pete Rose is not liked by a lot of people in baseball.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Sometimes it's a popularity contest,
Yeah, I mean, look, he bet on baseball. It's fucked up. He had a gambling habit.
But he paid
in
the
the
price.
last 40 years, he's not gotten into any trouble. He's, a lot of people. I think people.
Well, he got into trouble. He got into trouble with Kane.
He was in his 50s when he did that stuff with Kane. I thought he was great with Kane, man.
Yeah.
When he was talking about Buckner and oh man, it was the perfect time for him to do that. But when he kept coming back and he was the gobbledygooker, people mocked that he was put in the WWE Hall of Fame before he went into the Baseball Hall of Fame. But
baseball MLB should be embarrassed that WWE had to put him in the Hall of Fame before MLB.
Yeah. I think Pete Rose deserves to be in. Ohtani, like I said, it's a slippery slope because, then you get people that'll start doing the comparisons. If you do it to this person, you got to do it to this person. And, plus there's a lot more in the story that has to be uncovered still. So I think it's a little too early to, even correlate the two. But there's a lot of people that are immediately doing that. So, thank you for that, Johnny. The Bayou Geeks, thank you for the 5 spot. Just want to say glad to see you guys back together. So thank you, Fatty.
Thank you.
316.
Thanks, Fatty.
I saw another baseball question come in.
Joe Mauer.
Yeah. No relation to the Twins catcher, but was his name Joe Mauer too? I think it was, right?
Was it Mauer?
Yeah, wasn't it Joe Mauer? Wasn't he the Twins catcher? I thought he was be like a future Hall of Famer, and it just went downhill.
Yeah, I think it was Joe Mauer.
I think it was. What's our expectations for the Mets in 2024?
Pain. I'm not. Listen, I'm glad they got JD. What's his name?
Martinez.
Yeah, he's good. He's a great pickup. Thank God in the final hour they got an actual star on the team. I expect third place, maybe. We're in a tough division. I mean, my God, Atlanta Braves, fucking Phillies. It's a tough division, man. Marlins are always a pain in the ass. We can hope for the Nationals to finish last, but it's going to be a tough season. I mean, I thought the Mets would be a lot further along, and it looks like this season's going to be like throw it up against the wall and see if it sticks, and big hopes and pickups for next season because there'll be a lot of big free agents Mets will go after next year, 2025. But DT, I'm thinking they finish third this year if I'm making predictions. I want them to do better, don't get me wrong, but just barely 500 ball, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, the last 2 years they had tremendous spring trainings, and then after that it just went downhill. Here in New York, everybody's talking about the Mets signing Juan Soto next year and everything. It's like, fuck next year. What about this year? They got a decent team. I think the pitching is where they need to improve more than anything. And, I know they had to trade Scherzer last year and Verlander is gone, but man, I when I thought of those two guys, I kept thinking about the Diamondbacks from 2001 with Randy Johnson and Kurt Schilling, and I'm like, you get those two guys on a roll in the playoffs, everybody just rides their piggyback with them, and they can have a run. Didn't happen. Sucks. All right, let's continue on, and we'll start bringing this home soon. Because don't forget, tomorrow we have our regular DTKC show. That'll be live on Discord at 11:15 p.m. Make sure you check that out. We'll obviously focus more on WrestleMania this week, and we should hopefully get the final inductee announced for the WWE Hall of Fame, which we hope to be Bray Wyatt. I think it's all but a lock, but a couple of matches still have to be announced, and we'll see if Dominic issues the challenge tomorrow on Raw. Hair versus mask match. Dominic issues the challenge. Ray responds on Friday. Match is made next week. 1 week of hype. WrestleMania, here we are. We'll see. Let's see. I went a little out of place here, so I don't want to forget.
I think Rojo Bear 24. Did we get him?
Yeah, we are. We're getting to him soon.
Okay.
Jimmy Fingers. Outside of the two main events, what other matches do we have any investment in? For him, it's Bayley versus Io Sky and LA Knight versus AJ Styles. Other than that, he's not feeling many other matches.
I mean, the emphasis is so on the obvious with the Rock and the tag team match, and then Reigns and Cody night 2. To be honest with you, I'm not feeling the Bayley match. I'm not a big Bayley fan at all. I'm more of a Bianca fan. The build-up is okay. I mean, Bayley getting beat up every week. She's got to have a comeuppance, I guess, at WrestleMania. But now she's got Naomi on her side, and I think Bianca's changing her mind. And because Bayley needs help, she can't take on that whole crew by herself. So, and AJ Styles versus LA Knight, I don't know. I'm trying to think if there's any other match that I'm really looking forward to. I guess Sami Zayn versus Gunther.
Yeah, I think because it will be history. It's interesting. I think Monday they're going to start announcing matches for night 1 and night 2. I don't think it's fair for those. Believe it or not, guys, not everybody could afford to go to both nights of WrestleMania. There's a lot of people that could only afford to go to one night. I think it's a little unfair that outside of the main event tag team match, no one knows what's going to be on night 1. No one knows what's going to be on night 2. I mean, obviously Seth and Drew is on night 2 as well, but they got to start announcing what's going to be on night 1. And there's a lot of matches that are still not yet confirmed. And even the tag team ladder match, I'm not feeling the participants. There's nobody that stands out other than the feel-good Miz and R-Truth moment. And I don't even know if they should be the ones to dethrone Judgment Day after all this time.
Yeah, I think I'm sticking to my Judgment Day is finished. You can see the writing on the wall. I think Rhea's going to turn babyface. I don't know what happens to JD McDonough. I just hope his head doesn't get any bigger because that's fucked up. That dude's got a noggin on him, man. The nogginator. I don't know what happens to Finn Balor. I know what happens to Damian Priest. He goes on to be a solo star, I think, as a babyface. But Judgment Day, I think Rhea and Damian's future is bright. The other 3, I'm not sure what happens to the other 3, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and Andrade, like outside of maybe being in the corner of Ray for this hair versus mask match, like why are they introducing Andrade around the Judgment Day the last couple of weeks? I mean, especially if Judgment Day splits up, like what's the purpose of all of this? Just to set up something with Dominic and Andrade down the line?
I'm not sure. I mean, listen, they're very faction. It's a faction frenzy right now. But let's be honest, a lot of the factions are. I don't think the Pride is doing very well. I think Final Testament's struggling. I think the Latin factions are. The fans are kind of on Carlito's. The LWO has kind of lost its luster. There isn't really. Can someone even tell me outside of the blood? Even the Bloodline has lost its luster a little bit. Is there really a hot faction right now in WWE that you can honestly say is on fire? Everyone's kind of struggling. The factions, I think, are kind of maybe there's too many of them. DT.
Maybe Damage Control.
Is Damage Control hot though? Are they hot? I mean, physically they're hot, but they're hot looking. But they're attractive women. But is anybody? Listen, guys, you look around the arenas. Let's be honest here. Does anybody see anybody rocking a lot of Damage Control shirts or signs in the audience? I don't see it. Any of you guys see a big plethora of Damage Control shirts in the arenas? Is when a faction is hot, NWO, Four Horsemen. Stuff like that. You
Bullet
see
Club.
People rocking the shirt. Bullet Club. You see people rocking the shirts. Does Damage Control even have a shirt? So how hot of a faction can they be?
Yeah, it's true. If you actually think about it, I mean, I don't know. I think just probably the funny thing is for 2024 so far, probably the LWO was the hottest faction simply because of the shirt sales. I think just people never really owned an LWO shirt. It's a nice looking shirt.
It's a nice looking shirt, but most of the people in that crew are not over. Take Ray. I mean, Carlito gets a little bit of a pop when he comes out, but Carlito hasn't done much since he's been back.
No.
So I as much as I thought factions were in, take a look at it. The factions aren't that hot. You don't see DX, another one. When DX was hot, everyone was wearing the shirt. DX signs everywhere. Where is the love for the factions? Judgment Day was close, but now they're just dying out because they look like they're not in sync with each other anymore, by the way. Rhea looks like she's just went off on her own pretty much.
Yeah. And, the interesting thing is, Rhea's facing Becky, and Becky is still a babyface. So, Rhea's probably going to play, like I think you said this last week or the week before, that the crowd's going to be split between Becky and Rhea going into Mania, but I think after Mania, especially if Rhea drops Dominic, that's how Rhea becomes babyface. She just drops Dominic like a bad habit, and everybody immediately pop for Rhea on this. So
right.
Rojo Bear, shout out to you, my friend. When the Hardys go into the WWE Hall of Fame, should they be the headliners?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I don't know if they carry that luster anymore. I'm just not sure. I know Matt Hardy was at the North Carolina thing. They showed him sign autograph stuff. I mean, he's obviously not with WWE right now. They need headliners, maybe, I guess, if they have the Hall of Fame in the Carolinas, I guess.
Yeah, I think the only way they would headline is if they were both back in the company, not, like wrestling, or if it's like 10, 15 years from now where neither are wrestling anymore, then it's possible. But as of right now, I say no. I don't think they should be the headliners. First of all, I mean, when could they possibly go in? I would say not for several years. So by then, someone wrestling on TV right now might no longer be wrestling. Maybe John Cena is the headliner for that year, or Randy Orton is the headliner that year,
or The Rock,
So we don't know exactly.
Or Batista.
Batista, that's another one. Batista, my God, he should have been in already. But that's weird, man. I mean, doesn't it feel like, putting all the other shit aside, COVID hit, and he was like, "Nah, man, I want to be in front of people or nothing."
Yeah.
Why is it so hard to just accept the Hall of Fame, induction?
I think it's geographical too. They want to be either close to their hometown or a major city. I think they, some guys calculate it that way,
Yeah. Bernard, I think, isn't Big John Studd in the Legacy wing?
No, Big John Studd is in the regular Hall of Fame. He went in when Bobby Heenan went in, yes.
Oh, shit. I totally forgot about that. Oh, wait, did his son come out?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think his son came out. Yeah. Okay, now I remember that. Okay.
Sean Studd. Yep, he's still wrestling.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yep.
Scott Woodford. What's up, Scott? Hope you're doing well.
Oh, what's up, Scott?
Just, keep up the great content. Hope we're doing well. Same thing you, Scott. Keep
Thanks,
fighting
Scott.
that good fight, my friend. Yeah, Scott, big shout out. I mean, he goes back with us. My God.
Oh, yeah, Scott's a good guy.
Got to be 15 plus years, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Scott, man. Thank you, Scott. Jimmy with another 10 spot. How do we see the finish of Cody and Roman going down? Would it be great if Dustin could get involved? Because to me, Cody has not been hooking him. It might be unpopular, but he's team tribal chief now.
Yeah, so am I. I mean, but I'll pop as much as anybody else when Cody wins, because I'll be like, finally, I do it mostly just to tease the IWC and get under their skin that I push the Roman agenda. But I'm a big Roman Reigns heel faction fan. I think we're never going to see anything like this in our lifetime again, with a run like this of any champion in wrestling. So you could talk about his schedule. You could talk about Roman has time off. Roman also has 5 children, 4 under the age of 10. So a lot of people forget that factor too. He's not having a nanny raise his kids. So he gets time off. He gets special dispensation because of who he is and his family situation. And they also want to keep him healthy. They're just booking champions different now in WWE. And I think, as much as you think you're going to see Cody on TV every week, I wouldn't say that, DT. Mm-hmm. I have a feeling Cody's not going to be on TV every week. And then people could complain that he's got a light schedule, But where's Cody? We gave him the belt for him to take 2 weeks off. What the fuck? Yeah. So, but I think it's going to be a chaos. I think the match I think it's going to be bloodline rules because they're going to win. The Rock and Roman are going to win. Have Cody be the ultimate underdog going in. Interference from all over the place, from Solo Sikoa to Jimmy to Tama Tonga. I think you're going to see everyone's going to Rikishi. I think you're going to see chaos. And Cody pulls it out in the end, and I think it's going to be a lot of excitement. It's going to be bloodline rules. Count on it. Yeah. And Cody is going to cup up from behind, and it's going to be a huge, huge deal.
All right. Because Jimmy has been so generous with us tonight, I'm going to give a little early reveal of part of what I think is going to happen at WrestleMania.
Thank you, Jimmy.
And I want everybody to remember this. Thank you, Jimmy, again. I want everybody to remember this because I've thought about this. I've teased it for a few weeks, and I'm finally going to reveal what I think some of what we're going to see. And remember this moment 90 minutes in of our Ask DTKC Anything because I have a feeling this is going to happen. Night one, Roman Reigns is going to be in that match for a good portion of it. Roman Reigns is not going to acknowledge The Rock all that much. I think it's going to be clear that Roman Reigns wants to be the one in there, and I think it's going to show a little bit of friction between The Rock and Roman Reigns. They will ultimately win. And then night two, as Kev said, it's going to be bloodline rules. But then something is going to happen where Rock and Roman Reigns are going to be staring each other down, and the crowd is going to start chanting, Rocky, Rocky. And there's just going to be this really tense moment. And then Rock is going to, I'm telling you, everyone, I think this is going to happen. Bank on it. Rock is going to extend his arm. If anybody's paid attention, that handshake, that wrist lock that Rock and Roman have been doing when they, like they handshake, you know what I'm talking about, Kevin, when Rock lifts his hand in the air and Rock is going to lift his hand out. Roman is going to shake it, and Rock is going to hold on to his hand and give him a rock bottom. And he's going to leave the ring, and Cody's going to take over, and that's how the match is going to finish. That moment of Rock and Roman in the ring, and Rock is going to pretend that he's going to give Roman another handshake like that, and Rock is going to drop him.
It's exciting to think that's a good possibility, and it's exciting to not know. It's great to make estimations. There's so many things. I think it's the obvious, but sometimes I think Triple H is like, all right, everybody thinks that's going to happen. I'm going to go another way with this. So I don't think as fans we really can't lose. And as weak as maybe the undercard some people think it is, or as you said, DT, they haven't made the announcement yet, so it could be pretty good once they line it up. Probably this Monday, probably tomorrow. We'll talk about it on tomorrow's show.
Sure.
But it is so. And listen, it used to be like this back in the day. It should be mostly about the main event. The undercard is important, but these two main events on both those nights are crucial. It's going to shape the future of this company and possibly the shape of wrestling, and that's not even an exaggeration.
Yeah. And Ben, as far as Cody winning more clean enough, it's going to be bloodline rules.
Yeah, he can't win clean. It's bloodline rules. Chaos. Yeah, chaos. Chaos is good because someone just put chaos with a question mark. Yeah, chaos. Where you can see, I'm telling you, you haven't even seen him yet. You don't even know what role he plays because some people think he's going to be involved with the OC. Hell no. Tama Tonga is going to be totally involved with the bloodline. So I think you could be seeing characters and people that you didn't even expect to see possibly try to get involved. It's going to be, it's one of those things where you're going to, you keep your eyes sharp because you don't want to miss anything. It's going to be interference, bloodline rules. And I think Cody will have a game plan for bloodline rules. Because remember, once they lose on night one, Cody knows what he's going into the next night.
Yes.
So he can have a whole bunch of guys ready to interfere on his behalf too.
Right, exactly. So, and that helps Cody because since we will know before night two what the match will be, Cody could prepare accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as far as the Dustin factor, I don't think you get Dustin involved. And the reason why I say that is because if AEW is kind enough to allow Dustin to be seen, then people automatically think that WWE needs to return the favor in some way. And honestly, I don't think WWE needs to return any favors to AEW. I don't mean that to be cold, but hey, Dustin, he decided to work for the competitor. He decided to stay with the competitor. Well, you don't get to enjoy these moments. Privately, you can.
Yeah, privately.
Privately in the back, he could share it, but I don't think you put him on TV, in my opinion. So, shout out to Harry Hollyup. Thank you, Harry, my friend. Do we think Chad Gable's momentum was destroyed, or do we think the heat could still be turned up on him?
I'm not sure what they're doing with Chad Gable. I'll be honest with you. I'm kind of confused myself after he lost that match, doing the vignettes, then him telling Sammy you can't beat Gunther. You got to have confidence to beat him. I don't know what's going to play. I'm not sure what they're doing with Chad Gable. I really don't know where he goes from here. Is he just going to be a guy who gets behind Sammy, helps get Sammy's confidence to win, and then Chad challenges? I guess Chad could be his challenger.
Yep.
So I guess there's a reward after Mania for Chad, but Chad is clearly not going to be on Mania unless he's in some battle royal or something.
Do you make Sammy a transitional champion to Chad? And, like you said, where Sammy beats Gunther, ends Gunther's reign, and then Chad Gable gets a shot. But, I think people ultimately, I'll say this. I don't think Chad Gable's momentum has been destroyed. I've been saying for a while now, wrestling is supposed to break your heart. And sometimes the ones that you love the most are the ones that are the best to break your heart. That's why Chad Gable in this position is so good, because you care that much. He's doing his job. They incorporated his daughter for a reason, to make everyone emotionally more invested in Chad Gable. The question is, does Chad Gable turn heel, leave Alpha Academy, kind of follow the path of what AJ Styles is doing, and then Chad Gable goes on a run of his own? But a lot of people would not want that, because you want to root for Chad Gable. You don't want to root for him turning as a heel. Why, Chad? Why? I don't think people would really care all that much. I think Chad Gable should have been a singles champion by now. It should not be this hard for Chad Gable to win something. So I don't know if Sammy should be a transitional champion, but I think Chad Gable beating Sammy for that championship would be fine with me.
I agree.
Maybe SummerSlam.
Yeah, we'll see.
Maybe SummerSlam. So, and they definitely could listen. A big win for Chad Gable. Everything is cool in the gang. Sami Zayn, same thing. A month ago, he was on a losing streak. Kevin and I were the only people online saying that losing streak's going to be put in the storyline, and he'll ultimately fight Gunther and beat Gunther for the belt. We were saying that a month before everyone else, when a lot of you out there were telling us, oh, I don't like that idea. And it ended up happening exactly the way we said. Shout out to Matt. Thank you for the $20 super sticker. And shout out to Art S. Thank you for the 20 spot as well. Thank you for the entertainment.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys. Believe me, Kevin and I tomorrow will be eating big. Nah, we appreciate it. Believe me.
I'm getting the big sandwich.
Yeah, I might actually eat a hot dog tomorrow. No, listen, we work hard. I mean, I'm not saying it to try to make anybody kiss our ass or anything, but we work hard. And we've been doing this for decades now. And to see everyone out there showing this much love and support for what we do, Kev and I are and I'm not trying to speak for Kev, but Kev and I are happy to be back doing this. And the fact that so many of you turn out, enjoy the shows, support us, not only, with the shows, but financially spreading the word, it gives us obviously even more incentive to work even that much harder for all of you out there. And one thing is for sure, look, Kevin and I are going to talk about it tomorrow. Rock basically publicly shot down all that bullshit that we said last week about, him getting preferential treatment, about his promos and the roster being upset about it, and TKO wanted to be more PG. And, we knew that. And Rock finally shut all that shit down the last couple of days. Sometimes Kevin and I, will give the lowdown on something, and it might be boring and it might be unsexy, but we for decades feel that you would rather hear us give you the truth than to play on your emotions, get you all riled up about something that we know is not true, and then bring it up a week or two later that the story wasn't true. You know, last week, everybody and their mother was trying to tell you that Rock was going against TKO and WWE and going TV 14 and everybody else is doing this. And why is Rock going to go rogue? You know, being on a board of directors, you just use common sense and you figure this stuff out. And sure enough, 7 days later, we're proven right once again. So,
yep.
Thank you, Art. Thank you, Matt, again.
Thanks, guys.
Jimmy, DT, I sent you a DM about my dog a few months back after I did a podcast about my dog. I will have you know his dog survived his amputation and made a full recovery. He is cancer-free and pain-free. That is awesome. I love hearing stories about that. You know, I mean, I believe it or not, this is not to try to get any, you know, like, but believe it, when I do these shows in the background, I keep a picture of my Bella that I have right now. That's a picture of her. I keep her, you know, I always look. I mean, I miss my dog Peanut. Breaks my heart that I had to put him to sleep 10 plus years ago. Kev was right there, you know, that night, you know, when everything went down. You know, it's rough. You know, anybody that is an animal lover, you know, or I shouldn't even say it like that. Anybody that's ever owned a cat or a dog, you know what Jimmy's going through. You know Kev is going through. You know what I went through, my wife went through. You know, I don't want anybody to feel like just because you didn't own a dog or a cat, you're not an animal lover. I'm not saying that. When you get that personal attachment and you bond with a pet, you know, it's something, you know, special, and it's something totally different that you understand. Like, people joke, oh, my dogs are my kids. You know, someone who doesn't own dogs or cats will be like, oh, that's weird. But believe me, you know, Amy is Kev's kid. You know, Bella is now my kid. You know, they're more than just pets. You know, so that's why I always keep a picture in the background, and you know, I think of her, and you know, it is what it is. So
absolutely, yeah, no, good news, Jimmy.
Yeah, good news. I took a pause for a minute because there was like an awkward silence. So I didn't want to like, you know, because we know what's going on. So, all right. We're almost up to date with all of our questions. Scorpio 1117. Kev, do you have any favorites in AEW? Maybe wrestlers?
I love Thunder Rosa. I mean, I literally love Thunder Rosa. No, I mean, yeah, I like Thunder Rosa. I like, who else do I like? I mean, I like Hobbs. I think Hobbs would be, reminds me a lot of Butch Reed, old school.
Mm-hmm.
I think he could be something if he comes to the WWE. I think WWE could turn him into a superstar. So I'm going to say Hobbs, Thunder Rosa. Anybody else? Everybody else is kind of a former WWE guy. I'm trying to think of anybody there. Like Hobbs and Thunder Rosa would be two non-WWE people I want to see eventually come to WWE and have the push and the career that they deserve to have.
Yeah, you know, it's a shame that I don't watch AEW live on a weekly basis. And I say that carefully because I still watch some of AEW. You know, the problem is that, you know, and I've brought this up so many times before, you know, when AEW gives us no reason to emotionally get invested in someone, I don't care how great they wrestle. You know, I emotionally got invested with Eddie Kingston years ago because I followed Eddie Kingston on the Northeast and I rooted for him and I know how hard he worked and this and that. But, you know, now in AEW, you know, let's be honest, as much as I love Eddie Kingston, and I brought this up a few weeks ago, as much as I love Eddie Kingston, I look at Eddie Kingston in the ring now and like, I would have expected maybe him to have improved a little bit more in the last 3 or 4 years, not just physically, but, you know, it's like, I don't care that you're doing certain punches because you love a Japanese wrestler. If it looks shitty in the ring, I don't do it simply because I'm paying tribute to someone else. It's just, there's a lot that is portrayed, that is being portrayed because it's popping someone in the back, not popping us.
Correct.
You know,
exactly.
And it's a hard selling. Yeah, it becomes a brokered record where we said several times in the last couple of years, oh, you know, people are like, oh, they're finally giving Wardlow a push. They're finally giving Hobbs a push. We know, we can sense when someone in management has finally turned the corner and management has changed their view on them. Swerve Strickland is the closest that I could come to that right now. But at the end of the day, I don't care, you know, what they have done with Thunder Rosa so far. I don't get that feeling inside that AEW has decided, you know, we're going to put the Jets behind Thunder Rosa. It doesn't feel that way. And she is one of my favorites in that company. So, you know, Mercedes Moné, you know, again, you use common sense. Why wouldn't she immediately go for the biggest dog in the yard, the champions? And instead, oh, I have unfinished business about a match that I did in a different promotion that was abruptly stopped because I had injury. You know, it's just, there's a, like I said, it reminds me of someone who owns luxury cars that are manual transmissions and they don't know how to drive a stick. You could brag about the cars. You could start them up. You might be able to roll them down the street a little bit, but you can't, you know, go full throttle with them because you don't know how to drive a stick. And that's kind of how I feel about the product right now. So, Tyree Jones, what do we think about the proposed 32-hour work week by Bernie Sanders and a potential TikTok ban?
What do we think of the proposed 32-hour work week?
Kev, when was the last time you worked 32 hours? 1990?
I tell you. Might be before that. It might be 1985. Yeah, I really don't pay too much attention to Bernie Sanders these days. He's still around. The TikTok ban, yeah, they shouldn't ban anything. Listen, I believe in free speech. So does DT. I know that. Banning TikTok, listen, it's a huge distraction for a lot of people. I know that there's a lot of negativity. I think just here in America with Congress, they just don't like that China owns it. And they think that they're up to no good, DT. They're getting all of our information and some shit's going to go down and China's going to have the one-up on us. They already have the one-up on us outside of TikTok. I never go on TikTok. Occasionally, someone will send me a clip of someone on TikTok. It's mostly people bad dancing and a lot of hokey shit. It's not for me. You know, it's not for us. Me and DT are in our 50s. TikTok's not supposed to be for us. So I don't know. If I'm a college student or 20-something, I could maybe see it, you know, in that's for that generation. Me and DT are older people. That would be weird if me and Anthony were on TikTok all the time. That would be kind of weird.
Yeah. I look at it like this. Pretend I have a family of 9. Pretend I have the Brady Bunch in my house, and one of them gets chicken pox. I don't wait until 9 people get chicken pox and say, oh, you know what? We got to do something about these chicken pox. If the government was serious about China with TikTok, they would have done something about it years and years and years ago. You don't wait until people are technically, chemically addicted to it and everybody's using it and then turn around and say, oh, we got to do something about China. You allowed China to let TikTok get as big as it is now, and now you want to do something about it? So I look at stuff like that and I laugh. I'm like, the government didn't do shit about TikTok for all of these years. Now it's blown so out of control that you know they can't do nothing about it, but they try to save face to say that they're trying to ban it. Even if they are successful in banning it for a short period of time, you know, there's going to be such an uproar and it's bullshit. And 32-hour work week, yeah, good.
Really what had happened, not to get political here, but it rattled a lot of people, not only in Congress, but other people, when you see something, a world event like what happened in October in Israel, and you see a lot of people, uninformed kids going on and making declarations about things that they really don't know about. And it kind of rattled people that they can be indoctrinated by kind of false narratives, politically, religiously, say stupid shit, which a lot of young people do say stupid shit. Listen, young people, don't take offense. We all say stupid shit when we're young, you know, getting older and getting educated and just living life and having life experience is going to make you wiser, you know. And they get rattled by that, you know, because people they're really believing. First of all, what you say now at 19 or 22, I can bet you $1 million fucking dollars, when you turn 4-0 or 5-0, you're going to have a different outlook. It could be, and you can go any which way, but most people don't stay the same or how they feel when they're young, when they're older. It's life experience that changes you. And I think that the government gets all nervous. Listen, we're all so untrusting of each other now, DT, on both sides of the political fence. Everybody's kind of on the defense right now. Mm-hmm. And you can't force narratives never work. You know that, DT, on either side. Force them and making people fear-mongering, which the government does a great job of. Like I said, China's going to get it. They're getting all your information. They got your social security numbers. They're going to fucking dox you. They're going to do all these things to you. They probably have the technology. They probably do have all your information. But fear-mongering narrative to me never works, man. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
And also, you're right, DT. Day late and a dollar short. Why now? This has been going on for years.
Yep. When they started fear-mongering with COVID, both sides of the aisle, that's what made me fucking hate politics. I don't like Republicans. I don't like Democrats. I don't like following politics. And I used to talk nonstop about politics. I became such an enemy of the government now because of the fear-mongering and the bullshit that they play in the games and on both sides. So
on both sides, absolutely on both sides, yeah.
And this 32-hour work week thing, again, it's like what Kev said. Like Bernie Sanders is just trying to get a headline somewhere. It's not going to amount to anything. It's nonsense. Roderick Howard, why is there seem to be a less emphasis on managers in modern wrestling? Are there any current managers that could benefit greatly? Are there any current wrestlers who could benefit greatly with a manager? There aren't just many out there that could be a manager. I mean, you look at wrestlers from yesteryear. I mean, how many of them would be great managers? I don't think there would be all that many.
No, it's kind of an outdated concept. Even, as much as I was excited to see Cross get Paul Ellering, Paul hasn't done much. Paul's also in his 70s. Yeah. Paul's just kind of a guy that's there, kind of like, hey, the Legion of Doom, Road Warriors, manager, the OG. It's cool for like the rub, but he's not really adding anything to the faction. Cross is still doing most of the talking. Matter of fact, I'm surprised Ellering has barely done any talking. Yeah. So if the guys like Gary Hart and Bobby Heenan are gone now. Jimmy Hart is 80 years old. He's done. He's not going to manage anymore. All those guys who you look to, the legends, Jim Cornette, is more known as a podcaster now than he is as a manager. He doesn't do that anymore. So there is no heir to the Cornette throne or a new Bobby Heenan or a new Gary Hart. It's kind of an outdated thing. I think managers can still work, but they don't. Where's that talent going to come from, DT? Yeah. Who is it going to be?
Yeah, you look at the 90s, you look at 2000s. I mean, there are some people that probably could, but the thing is, they're not right. How do you pair them up? You look at Bray Wyatt, God rest his soul. Bray Wyatt actually could talk. He don't need a manager. You look at somebody like Okada. Okada can't talk. He needs a manager, but he doesn't have a manager, so he aligns with the Young Bucks, and the Young Bucks will do the talking, just like Dakota Kai. Kevin and I was saying for weeks upon weeks upon weeks that Dakota Kai is going to remain with Kabuki Warriors because she has to be the mouthpiece for the women there. You just look at the roster. Who doesn't talk well that could use a manager? There's not that many, because when you're trained these days, even the last 10 years, part of your training is to cut promos. And it's very, very difficult for somebody to get to the main roster without having some type of mic skills unless you're an international star.
Who I liked as a manager mouthpiece? I thought Leo Rush was a good manager mouthpiece for Bobby Lashley.
Yeah.
I thought Leo Rush could be a manager who could work. Robert Stone is not bad either, even though Robert he's so wafy thin. Like when I saw him on NXT, I'm like, what does he weigh? 135? when he was wrestling Brian Pillman's son, Alexis King. And Alexis King just manhandled him. Robert Stone was a regular in TNA, was part of that bromance
Yeah, I don't
tag
remember
team.
him being that small.
But he got so skinny. Yeah, he's so fucking skinny. As they say, he can fucking hula hoop through a Cheerio. But a guy like him or Leo Rush, I think they are good mouthpieces, and they can work too. So if they have a thing where the manager must wrestle or he's got to get in and be part of the team. But yeah, I liked, but Leo Rush imploded, obviously. There was personality and attitude problems. But I liked Leo Rush as Bobby Lashley's mouthpiece for that. I'm sorry that didn't last. And Robert Stone is not a bad manager either. But they're never going to capture that Heenan, Heyman, Cornette, Gary Hart. It's just,
the only person that I really, really enjoy as a manager right now is MVP.
Yeah, he's okay.
I'm not saying that he's spectacular at it. He has that style and presence and swag. I mean, look, Paul Heyman, obviously. I'm not saying Paul Heyman's not. Paul Heyman's one of the greatest of all time. But I'm saying, like, as far as, like, those who wrestled that could be a manager, MVP I kind of like the most out of everybody right now.
Right. Okay.
Stokely is not known to be a wrestler. That's why we don't mention Stokely. I mean, there's others out there, but I'm saying as far as somebody who was a wrestler in the 90s or the 2000s that, can do it today and kind of pull it off, to me, MVP is probably the best one on the list to me. So,
yeah.
All right, we're approaching 2 hours. We're going to start wrapping this up. Because, in about 25 hours from now, Kevin and I will be back with your regular edition of the Don, Tony, and Kevin Castle show.
Want to take a couple more questions?
Yeah, we'll take a few more, and then we will call it tonight. So, ask away if you haven't had a chance to do so yet. We'll get into it, and then we're going to wrap it up. So I want to thank everybody again who joined us live, and we'll definitely look into doing another one in the near future, and we'll go from there. Yeah.
And thank you, everybody.
Yeah, this was fun. I mean, we hyped it up for a few weeks, and I'm glad everybody turned out. I'm sorry for those that got upset I didn't do a show Friday. The only reason why I didn't do it Friday is because I thought it was kind of overkill to do a Q&A on Friday and then do another Q&A on Sunday. And plus I thought you would all enjoy it a little bit more of me bouncing off of Kev and vice versa, getting two opinions on a topic instead of one. So
there you go.
MVP is still around, Chris. It's just Omos has been off TV for a while. So slowly they'll be back on TV. Let's see. Vance. Jade Cargill has a match at Mania, or are they saving her after Mania? Kev, do you think Jade will have a match at Mania?
This might be pushing it. It's a couple of weeks away. I'm not sure. I don't think so.
I think the fact that they're putting her on TV 2 weeks before, well, actually a week before WrestleMania, yeah. I think there's going to be a match. I wonder if Nia Jax is going to call her out tomorrow, or maybe she calls out Nia Jax. I still think that Nia Jax and Jade Cargill should be a match at Mania, even if it's a squash. I don't think anybody would have a problem with Jade Cargill squashing Nia Jax at WrestleMania.
Yeah, it's possible. It's possible.
Yeah, I think the fact that she's coming back a week before, we might have an impromptu match. Maybe somebody issues a challenge or she issues one and somebody accepts and matches on. So theme parks and things with Johnny, thank you very much, my friend. I just want to say a huge thank you to Kevin, myself for doing this tonight. Thank you, Johnny. Glad you enjoyed it. Glad you enjoyed it. Maggie, the same to you as well. Thank you very much. Douche has a question for you. Better hardcore musician, Mike or Mark Scandato?
It sounds familiar. I'm going to go with Mike. Mark gets more of the accolades because he's the younger, better-looking one. But Mike has been around for a long time. Mike is in the hardcore scene since '87. If it wasn't for Mike, Mark wouldn't have got into the scene or probably even gotten his break. But Mark became a bigger name in the industry. But Mike is the unheralded brother, so I'm going to go with Mike.
You want to elaborate a little more as far as who Mike and Mark are? Some people might not get it.
They're my brothers.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my younger brothers. They're both in bands. Mark is in Shutdown. Mike is in the band Inhuman.
Very cool. Very cool. You know, believe it or not, I think we just lost Kev right at the very end of the show. Kev, you still there? Yeah, you're there. Oh, you're there.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Awesome. I love that. Unfortunately, my brother's not in music at all. So my brother lives a very, I don't want to say boring life, but a very uneventful life. I think that's probably the better way to put it. So, all right, we'll close it with this. Yeah, we'll close it with this. Michael Gonzalez, favorite Undertaker match of all time.
The Boiler Room Brawl with Mick Foley. I love it. Still to this day, I love watching it. My favorite Undertaker match of all time. Boiler Room Brawl with Mankind. Mick Foley.
You know, originally my default would be Hell in the Cell. But I realized as I watched that match back over the years, it's more about telling the story of Mick Foley who won't quit. The match really didn't have that much to it. It was a couple of bumps. I mean, the thumbtacks was brutal and falling in the middle of the ring was brutal. Through the table was brutal, but the match didn't have a hell of a lot with it. The Boiler Room Brawl, say that fast 10 times. The Boiler Room Brawl is definitely one that doesn't get as much love as it should. That is fucking good. That is really good.
DT, you know what I love? If you guys watch it, Undertaker walking through that hallway, just the way he walked into that room, it just was like almost like a horror movie. It was really great. And when Mankind was like hiding, waiting to jump him, it was like watching a horror movie. It really was. I just love the ambiance of it, the scenery, the darkness of it. I love that. I can watch it all the time. But Undertaker walking that corridor and to open that door is just legendary, man. You got to watch that.
Yeah. I mean, he's had some great matches in the latter part of his career. I mean, Shawn Michaels comes to mind and others, but you know, I tell you, that Boiler Room Brawl does not get as much love as it should. Probably.
I don't know why. I
think because of the Hell in the Cell match. I think if Mick Foley and Undertaker never had that Hell in the Cell, or I should rephrase that, if Foley didn't take those two bumps, I think the Boiler Room Brawler would be celebrated more. But everybody just goes to Hell in the Cell. When you think of Taker and Foley, immediately, including me, always bring up Hell in the Cell.
Nice.
So, Kev, I'll see you in about 24 hours.
Yes, this is fun, man. Sorry about the earlier connection. I don't know what that was, but you got to get through. You had your things the other day, so maybe we're evened out now. So
yeah, hey,
I don't know if it's a Fios. And we both have the same carrier too, Fios. So Verizon.
But I'm glad we were able to do this, Kev. Much love. I'll definitely talk to you tomorrow night. We'll have a fun show tomorrow night as well.
Absolutely, and thank you everybody in the chat. It's been fun, and we'll do it again. And see you guys tomorrow night for DTKC.
Sounds good. Be well, my friend.
Peace, everybody.
Everyone, it would be disrespectful for me to stay on when Kev is not. So I am just going to bid you farewell for this evening. I hope you enjoyed it. I thank you all for the turnout. Spread the word that we did this episode, and I will definitely talk to Kev about doing another one in the very near future. Maybe we'll do one right after Mania. Maybe we'll do one right before Mania. We'll see. But definitely very happy with the turnout tonight. I hope you all enjoyed it. And don't forget, Monday night, right after Raw, join us at dtkcdiscord.com. Kevin and I will be live doing the Don, Tony, and Kevin Castle show. I know a majority of our talk will be focused on WrestleMania this week. We have a couple of news discussions to get into besides, but this week will be focused on Mania, especially since it's the next to last Raw going into Mania. So there's definitely going to be a lot to get into, but I hope you could join us live. And once again, thank you for the support. We'll catch you all again later. Be well.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a podcaster. For me to live any other way was nuts. To me, those goody-good people who worked shitty jobs for bum paychecks and took the subway to work every day and worried about their bills were dead. I mean, they were suckers. They had no balls. If I wanted something, I just took it. I ran everything. I paid the bills, I paid the host. I even paid the masked maniac. Everybody had their hands out. Everything was for the taking. We always called each other good fellas. You would always hear from somebody. You're gonna like Don Tony. He's all right. He's a good fella. He's one of us. But if you're part of my crew, nobody ever tells you they're gonna get rid of you. It doesn't happen that way. There weren't any arguments or curses like in the movies. See, your haters come with smiles. They come as your friends, the people who've claimed they care the most for your life. And now that's all over. And that's the best part. Today everything is different. There's lots of action. I don't have to wait around for everything like everyone else. Oh, I didn't get the vaccine? Fuck you, vaccine me. Oh, your delivery guy has COVID? Fuck you, feed me. Right after I moved here, I ordered egg noodles and ketchup, and I got spaghetti with meat sauce. I'm no longer an average nobody, while they get to live the rest of their lives like a bunch of schnooks.